Let me tell you about the day my daughter told me I was losing my mind. We were standing in the neurology department at Mercy General, the same hospital where she works as an administrator, the same hospital where I'd volunteered for 15 years after my wife died. She had her laptop open, and her husband Brandon was standing beside her with his arms crossed. "Dad, we need to talk about your living situation," Melissa said, not looking up from her screen. "I just finished my annual checkup. The doctor had said everything looked good for a man my age. 65, active, still consulting on architectural projects here and there. But Melissa wasn't asking about the checkup. My living situation? I said. I'm living in the same house I've lived in for 38 years. That's the problem." Brandon stepped forward. He had this way of speaking, like he was explaining compound interest to a child. "Richard, you're getting older. Last month, you forgot to call Melissa back for 2 days. 2 days. I was in Portland, on a consulting job. I told you I was going. You told her you'd be gone for 1 day," Melissa said, finally looking at me. "You said 1 day, Dad, not 2. That's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about. Memory issues. Confusion." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "I'm not confused. We've already spoken to Dr. Patterson about it," Brandon continued. "He agrees that at your age, with these signs, we need to be proactive." "Signs? What signs, Dad?" Melissa closed her laptop and stood up. "We've found a wonderful place for you. Oak Ridge Senior Living. Beautiful facility. Great staff. All your meals included. You'll love it." "I don't want to love it. I want to stay in my home." "Your home is too big for one person," Brandon said. 4 bedrooms, that huge yard. And frankly, Richard, the property taxes alone are nearly $20,000 a year. That's money you don't need to be spending. It's my money. Is it though? Brandon glanced at Melissa. "Because from what we understand, you're living primarily on Social Security. Maybe a small pension. The house is paid off. Sure. But the upkeep, the utilities, the maintenance, you're not managing it well." "I managed just fine. Dad, the gutters were overflowing last time I visited," Melissa said softly, like she was talking to a patient. "There were leaves everywhere. The paint is peeling on the north side. You're not keeping up with it because you can't anymore. And that's okay. That's why we're here to help." "I don't need your help. We've already put down a deposit at Oak Ridge," Brandon said. "Move-in is next Friday. We'll handle everything, the packing, the sorting, all of it. You don't have to worry about a thing." "In my house?" They exchanged another look. "We'll take care of it," Melissa said. "Take care of it how?" "We'll list it," Brandon said. "Probably get around $950 for it, maybe more with the market the way it is. That money goes into an account for your care. Oak Ridge isn't cheap. We're looking at about $7,000 a month. But with the proceeds from the house, you'll be covered for years." I stood there in that sterile hallway, with its fluorescent lights and the smell of disinfectant, and I understood. They'd planned this. The checkup was just the excuse. They'd already decided. "What if I say no?" I asked quietly. "Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be," Melissa said. "We're doing this because we love you, because Mom would want us to take care of you. Don't bring your mother into this," I wanted to say. "Your mother built that house with me. We designed it together. Every room, every window, every doorway. We planned it all." But I didn't say any of that. I just nodded. "I need some time to think," I said. "You have until Friday," Brandon replied. "We've scheduled the movers." That was 3 weeks ago. Let me back up. Let me tell you how we got here, because it didn't start in that hospital hallway. It started 5 years earlier, the day after my wife Sarah died. Sarah and I had been married for 40 years. We met in college. She was studying interior design. I was in architecture. We used to joke that we were the perfect team. I created the bones. She made them beautiful. We had Melissa late, when we were both in our early 30s and had finally saved enough to buy land outside of Denver. The house we built, God, that house. 3 acres on a hillside with views of the mountains. Sarah designed every detail. The kitchen windows that caught the morning light. The reading nook in the master bedroom. The garden she planned out on graph paper. Seasonal blooms rotating through spring, summer, fall. When she got sick, it happened fast. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. I watched her fade in that house, in our bedroom, surrounded by everything we'd built together. Melissa came for the funeral, of course. Stayed for a week. But she lived 4 hours away in Colorado Springs, had her own life, her own job. Brandon had just started his financial advisory firm and was pulling long hours. They had their own house to worry about, their own bills. "Dad, if you need anything," Melissa had said before she left. "Anything at all, just call." I called once a month, sometimes twice, just to talk, just to hear her voice. Sometimes she called back right away. Sometimes it took a few days. I understood. She was busy. The first year after Sarah died, I volunteered at the hospital 3 days a week. I'd always been good with numbers, with planning, so I helped in the administrative offices, filing, organizing, the kind of background work that keeps a hospital running. It gave me purpose, gave me somewhere to be. That's where I met Tom and Patricia, another couple in their 60s who volunteered. We became friends, started meeting for coffee. They invited me to their book club. Slowly, I built a life that wasn't just grief and empty rooms. But Melissa was worried. Every time she called, she'd ask, "Are you eating enough? Are you remembering to pay bills? Have you been to the doctor?" "I'm fine," I'd tell her. "I'm doing really well, actually. I just worry," she'd say. "You're all alone in that big house." The second year, Melissa came to visit more often. She'd walk through the house, opening closets, checking cabinets. "Dad, some of these groceries are expired. You need to be more careful. I just forgot to throw them out." "That's what concerns me." She started calling Brandon in during these visits. He'd do a walkthrough, taking notes on his phone. "Richard, you've got a leak under the kitchen sink. See that water damage? You need to get that fixed. I'll call a plumber." "When was the last time you had the roof inspected?" "I don't know. A few years? That's a problem. These things need to be maintained." The third year, Brandon started talking about money. He'd sit me down at the kitchen table, the one Sarah had refinished by hand, and pull out spreadsheets. "Richard, I've been looking at your finances. You're spending more than you're taking in." "I'm fine." "You're dipping into savings every month. At this rate, you'll be broke in 6 years. The house is paid off. I don't need much. But you've got property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance. You're burning through your nest egg." "It's my nest egg to burn," he'd sigh, like I was being difficult. "I'm just trying to help. That's what family does." The fourth year, Melissa started mentioning Oak Ridge. "Dad, I drove past this beautiful senior living facility the other day. You should see it. It's like a resort." "I don't need a resort. I have a home." "But don't you get lonely? All your friends from the hospital have moved away or passed. Tom and Patricia moved to Arizona, didn't they?" "Yes, but wouldn't it be nice to be around people your own age? People to talk to, activities to do?" "I have activities." "Like what?" "I volunteer. I consult on projects. I garden." "Dad, the garden is overgrown. You haven't touched it in months." That was true. I couldn't bring myself to work in Sarah's garden. Every plant reminded me of her, but that was grief, not incompetence. Then came the incident that changed everything. I was supposed to call Melissa on a Thursday evening. We had a standing call every Thursday at 7, but that week, I'd gotten a last-minute request from a former colleague in Portland. An old client wanted me to consult on a renovation project, just 2 days of work, good money, a chance to feel useful again. I called Melissa Wednesday night. "Hey, honey, I'm heading to Portland tomorrow for a quick job. I'll be back Saturday. Can we move our call to Sunday?" "Portland? Dad, that's so far. Are you sure you should be driving?" "I'm flying. It's a 2-hour flight." "By yourself?" "I'm 65, not 85. "Okay, but Sunday works. Call me when you land, okay? So, I know you got there safe." I meant to call. I really did. But when I landed, my phone was dead. I'd forgotten to charge it the night before. And the hotel I'd booked, a budget place near the job site, didn't have the right adapter for my old charging cable. I made a mental note to buy one the next morning, but the job started early and ran late. And by the time I got back to the hotel, I was exhausted. Friday night, same thing. The work was more complex than I'd anticipated, and I ended up staying late at the site, going over blueprints with the contractor. I finally remembered to buy a new charging cable Friday night, plugged in my phone, and saw 17 missed calls from Melissa. I called her back immediately. It was after midnight. She answered on the first ring. Dad? Dad, oh my God, where have you been? Portland. I told you I was coming to Portland. You said you'd call when you landed. I've been trying to reach you for 2 days. I almost called the police. My phone died. I couldn't find a charger. You couldn't find a charger for 2 days? Melissa, I'm sorry. I was working. I just forgot. There was a long silence. Then, Dad, this is exactly what I've been worried about. Forgetting things. Not following through on commitments. This isn't normal. I got busy. It happens. Not to you. You've always been the most reliable person I know. And now you're slipping. I'm not slipping. I made a mistake. I think you need to see a neurologist. That's how we ended up in that hospital hallway 3 weeks ago, with Melissa and Brandon telling me I was being moved to a facility and my house was being sold. I said I needed time to think. What I really needed was time to understand what was happening. That night, I sat in my living room, the one Sarah and I had designed, with the vaulted ceilings and the stone fireplace, and I tried to figure out where I'd gone wrong. Had I been forgetful? Yes, sometimes. Who isn't? Had I let some maintenance slide? Sure, the gutters could have been cleaned. The paint could be fresher. But none of that meant I was incompetent. I pulled out my financial records. Brandon had said I was spending more than I was taking in. I went through everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, tax returns. My Social Security covered my basic expenses. My pension from the firm covered the rest. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't drowning either. The property taxes were high, yes. $20,000 a year. But I'd planned for that. Sarah and I had saved carefully. We'd built a comfortable cushion. Then I noticed something odd. My property tax bill from last year. It was addressed to me at my house, but the envelope had been opened and resealed. A tiny detail. But Sarah had been a details person, and she'd taught me to notice these things. I called the county assessor's office the next morning. Hi, I'm calling about my property at 1,247 Clearwater Ridge. I wanted to confirm the assessed value. One moment. Okay, I've got it here. Current assessed value is $950,000, and that's based on most recent comparable sales in your area. Beautiful property, by the way. 3 acres, custom build. If you were to sell, you'd probably get close to market value, maybe more. Right. And who receives the tax bills? They go to the property owner. That's you, Richard Monroe. Have there been any requests for information about this property? Any inquiries? Let me check. Yes, actually. We had a request about 6 months ago from a Brandon Hoffman. He said he was family, needed the information for estate planning purposes. We sent him a full property report. Estate planning. While I was still very much alive. I thanked her and hung up. That afternoon, I drove to my lawyer's office. Dave Chen had handled our estate planning when Sarah was alive. He was semi-retired now, only taking on old clients. Richard, good to see you, he said, shaking my hand. It's been a while. How are you holding up? That's actually why I'm here. I need to ask you something. My house, the one Sarah and I built. Who legally owns it? He looked confused. You do. It's in your name only. After Sarah passed, her share transferred to you automatically. It's all in the trust documents we set up. Trust documents? The Revocable Living Trust. Don't you remember? You and Sarah established it about 15 years ago when you were doing your estate planning. The house, your investments, everything is in the trust. I did remember, vaguely. Sarah had insisted on it. It'll make things easier for Melissa when we're gone, she'd said. No probate, no hassle. Can you pull those documents? I asked. Dave disappeared into his file room and came back with a thick folder. We spent the next hour going through it. The trust was exactly as Sarah had set it up. Upon my death, everything would go to Melissa. But while I was alive, I had complete control. I could sell the house, modify the trust, do whatever I wanted. Dave, What if someone tried to sell the house without my permission? They couldn't. You're the trustee. Any sale would require your signature, your consent. Why? Is someone trying to pressure you? I told him about Melissa and Brandon, about the nursing home, about their plan to take care of the house. Dave's expression darkened. Richard, I want you to listen to me carefully. What they're describing sounds like they're planning to liquidate your assets while you're still alive. That's not estate planning. That's what? I don't want to say it, but it's concerning. Has anyone suggested you sign a power of attorney? Not yet. Don't. Not unless you fully understand what you're signing. And if you're worried about what's happening, you might want to document everything. Keep records, just in case. I left his office with a hollow feeling in my stomach. These were my daughter and son-in-law, Melissa, who I'd raised, who I'd put through college, Brandon, who I'd welcomed into the family. They wouldn't actually try to steal from me, would they? Friday morning, moving day. Melissa and Brandon showed up at my door at 8 a.m. They had a moving truck. 2 guys in company uniforms started walking through my house, making notes on clipboards. Dad, we're going to pack up your essentials first, Melissa said. Clothes, toiletries, important documents. The movers will handle the furniture later. We've already arranged for an estate sale company to come through next week. An estate sale? Well, you won't need most of this furniture at Oak Ridge. They provide everything. And honestly, Dad, some of this stuff is pretty worn out. It'll be easier to just sell it all and start fresh. Sarah's furniture. The pieces she'd chosen, the tables she'd refinished, the chairs she'd reupholstered. I haven't agreed to any of this, I said quietly. Brandon stepped forward. Richard, we've been over this. You're not safe here. Dr. Patterson confirmed that you're showing early signs of cognitive decline. I spoke to Dr. Patterson yesterday. He said my checkup was fine. He said your physical health was fine. But we've talked to him about the memory issues, the confusion. He agrees that you need more support than you can get living alone. Show me the documentation. What? If Dr. Patterson agrees that I'm cognitively impaired, show me the paperwork. Show me the diagnosis. Melissa's face flushed. Dad, it's not about paperwork. It's about keeping you safe. Show me anyway. We don't have time for this, Brandon said. The facility is expecting you at noon. We need to go. I'm not going. The room went silent. The movers stopped what they were doing. Melissa stared at me. Dad, please. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I'm not making anything hard. I'm staying in my home. You can't, Brandon said flatly. You're not capable of living independently anymore. Says who? Says everyone who cares about you. Then everyone who cares about me can leave. Right now. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. Dad, why are you being like this? We're trying to help. Are you? Or are you trying to get your hands on my house? What? How dare you? I spoke to the county assessor. You requested a property report 6 months ago for estate planning. But I'm not dead yet, Melissa. Brandon's jaw tightened. That was just due diligence. We needed to know what we were working with. You needed to know what my house was worth so you could plan how to spend the money. That's not fair, Melissa said. Dad, we've put down a deposit. We've paid the first month at Oak Ridge. We've arranged everything. You can't just back out now. Watch me. Fine. Brandon pulled out his phone. Then I'll call Adult Protective Services. Report a vulnerable senior living in unsafe conditions, refusing necessary care. They'll send someone out to evaluate you, and when they see this place, the maintenance issues, the cluttered rooms, they'll mandate the move anyway. My heart was pounding. You'd do that? You'd have me declared incompetent? If it means keeping you safe? Yes. We stood there, at an impasse. Finally, I said, give me 30 days. What? 30 days. If you're right, if I really can't manage on my own, then I'll go to Oak Ridge voluntarily. But give me 1 month to prove I can handle it. Melissa and Brandon exchanged looks. What's the point? Melissa asked. You're just delaying the inevitable. Maybe. But it's my life. Give me 30 days to live it. Brandon sighed. Fine. 30 days. But we're checking in weekly. And if we see any decline, any problems, you're going straight to Oak Ridge. Agreed? Agreed. They left. The movers left. I sat in my living room, surrounded by Sarah's things, and I realized something. I needed to be very, very careful. The next morning, I called Dave Chen again. I need you to do something for me. What's that? I need you to document my mental state. Officially. I want a cognitive assessment from an independent neurologist. I want it on record that I'm competent. Richard, are you sure? If you're worried about what Melissa might do, I'm not worried. I'm prepared. Can you arrange it? He could. By Wednesday, I had an appointment with Dr. Lisa Huang, a neuropsychologist who specialized in geriatric assessment. She put me through 4 hours of testing: memory, reasoning, language, spatial awareness. At the end, she smiled. Mr. Monroe, your cognitive function is well above average for your age. You scored in the 92nd percentile on most measures. There's no indication of any impairment. Can you document that? Already done. I'll send copies to your attorney and to your primary care physician. Thank you. Back home, I started making changes. I hired a handyman to fix everything Melissa had complained about. The gutters got cleaned. The peeling paint got touched up. The leak under the kitchen sink got repaired. I went through every room and organized, donated old clothes, threw out expired food. I also installed something else: security cameras. 4 of them, covering the front door, back door, driveway, and living room. They recorded to a cloud server. Dave had suggested it. If they're going to make accusations, he'd said, you need to be able to prove they're false. Melissa called every few days. How are you doing, Dad? Great. Really good. Eating okay? Yes. Paying your bills? Yes, Melissa. I worry. I know you do. The second week, they showed up unannounced. Saturday morning, I was in the garden. I'd started working on it again, clearing the overgrowth, planting some fall bulbs. Sarah would have liked that. Dad? Melissa called from the driveway. I stood up, brushing dirt from my knees. Hi, honey. Brandon. We wanted to check on you, Melissa said, but her eyes were scanning the house, looking for problems. Come on in. They did a walkthrough. I could see them searching for something to criticize. But the house was clean. The repairs were done. The fridge was organized. It looks good, Melissa admitted reluctantly. Thanks. I've been keeping up with things. Still, Dad, wouldn't it be easier to not have to worry about all this? At Oak Ridge, you'd have 2 more weeks, I said calmly. We agreed on 30 days. They left, looking frustrated. The 3rd week, something interesting happened. I was at the hospital, doing my volunteer work, when I ran into Colleen Marsh. She was the director of patient services, technically, Melissa's boss. Richard, good to see you. We miss you around here. I've been keeping busy. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. Melissa put in a request for your volunteer records, said she needed them for some personal matter. I thought that was odd, so I wanted to check with you first. My volunteer records, which would show that I'd been working regularly, reliably, for years, which would prove I wasn't confused or incompetent. Did she say why she needed them? Something about updating your personal files. I told her I'd need your permission first. Don't give them to her. Colleen's eyebrows rose. Is everything okay? Family stuff. Nothing serious, but those records are mine, and I'd like to keep them private. Of course. I'll let her know. That night, Melissa called. She was angry. Why would you tell Colleen not to give me your volunteer records? I'm your daughter, and those are my records. My private information. I was just trying to help organize your files. I don't need help organizing my files. Dad, why are you being so paranoid? I'm not paranoid. I'm just maintaining my privacy. She hung up on me. The 4th week, Brandon came by alone. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was at the kitchen table, working on a consulting project, some blueprints for a residential renovation. Richard, can we talk? He asked. Sure. He sat down across from me. Look, I know we got off on the wrong foot with this whole Oak Ridge thing, but I want you to understand we're not the bad guys here. We're trying to look out for you. I appreciate that. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like you think we're trying to steal from you or something. Are you? He laughed, but it didn't sound amused. God, no. Richard, I'm a financial advisor. I help people manage their money. That's literally my job. And what I see when I look at your situation is someone who's house rich but cash poor. You've got almost $1 million sitting in this property. But you're living on what, $3,000 a month? I'm comfortable. But you could be more than comfortable. If you sold this place, downsized to Oak Ridge, you'd have your care covered and still have $600,000 left over. That could be invested, generating income. You could travel, enjoy your retirement, not worry about every plumbing repair. I like my home. I get that. But is it worth being broke for? I'm not broke. He pulled out his phone, showed me a spreadsheet. According to my calculations, you'll run out of savings in 4 years, maybe 5 if you're frugal. What happens then? Then I'll deal with it then. That's not a plan. It's my plan. He stood up, frustrated. Fine, have it your way. But when you're eating ramen because you can't afford anything else, don't say we didn't warn you. After he left, I looked at that spreadsheet more carefully. Something was off about his numbers. He had my property taxes listed as $30,000 a year, not $20,000. He had my utilities at $600 a month. They averaged $4,000. He'd inflated every expense, making it look like I was hemorrhaging money. Why? The answer came to me slowly. If they could prove I was financially irresponsible, that I couldn't manage my own affairs, they'd have grounds to seek guardianship. And a guardian could make decisions for me, including selling my house. Day 30 arrived. Saturday morning, Melissa and Brandon showed up together. Well, Dad, Melissa said, 30 days. How do you feel? I feel great. The house looks good, Brandon admitted. I'll give you that. So what? So our agreement was 30 days. I've proven I can manage. Now you leave me alone. Melissa shook her head. Dad, 1 month doesn't prove anything. You've clearly been on your best behavior because you knew we were watching. But what about 6 months from now? A year? You said 30 days. And we're saying it's not enough, Brandon said. We still think Oak Ridge is the best option. Well, I don't, and it's my choice. Actually, Brandon said slowly, we've been talking to a lawyer. Given your age, your isolation, your refusal to accept help, we might have grounds to petition for guardianship. My blood went cold. You're going to try to have me declared incompetent? Only if you force us to, Melissa said. Her eyes were pleading. Dad, please, just agree to Oak Ridge. Make this easy. No. Then we'll file next week. They left. I sat there, feeling the weight of what was coming. That night, I called Dave Chen. They're going to file for guardianship. On what grounds? Age, isolation, refusal of care. Can they do that? They can try. But Richard, you've got documentation now. The cognitive assessment, your medical records, your financial records showing you're managing fine. And you've got the security footage showing you're living independently. Security footage? From your cameras. You've been recording everything, right? I had. Every time they'd visited, every conversation, all of it backed up to the cloud. There's something else I think you should know, Dave said. I did some digging into Brandon's financial advisory business. He's had some complaints filed against him. Aggressive sales tactics, recommending investments that benefited him more than his clients. Nothing prosecuted, but enough smoke to suggest fire. What are you saying? I'm saying he might be in financial trouble, and $1 million house sale, with him managing the proceeds? That's a significant commission. The pieces fell into place. This wasn't about my welfare. This was about money. The next week, I received formal notice. Melissa and Brandon had filed a petition for emergency guardianship, citing my inability to care for myself and my refusal of necessary medical care. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. Dave and I spent those 2 weeks preparing. We gathered every piece of documentation, my cognitive assessment, my medical records, my financial statements, the security camera footage. We interviewed witnesses, Colleen from the hospital, the handyman who'd done repairs, even Tom and Patricia on a video call from Arizona. Richard's as sharp as he was 20 years ago, Tom said. Maybe sharper. He's one of the most capable people I know. The hearing was held in a small courtroom at the county courthouse. Melissa and Brandon sat on one side with their lawyer. I sat on the other with Dave. The judge, A woman in her 50s named Martinez reviewed the petition. This is a request for emergency guardianship based on Mr. Monroe's alleged inability to care for himself. Miss Hoffman, you're the petitioner. Yes, Your Honor, Melissa said. I'm his daughter. And what evidence do you have that your father cannot care for himself? Their lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we have documentation of Mr. Monroe forgetting to return phone calls, of maintenance issues at his residence, of his refusal to accept reasonable assistance. His home is too large for him to maintain. His financial situation is precarious, and he's living in isolation. Mr. Monroe? The judge said, looking at me. How do you respond? Dave stood. Your Honor, we have extensive documentation that refutes every one of these claims. He handed over our evidence packet. First, a comprehensive cognitive assessment performed 2 weeks ago by Dr. Lisa Huang, a board-certified neuropsychologist. Mr. Monroe scored in the 92nd percentile for his age group. There is no cognitive impairment. The judge reviewed the documents. This is quite thorough. Second, we have recent photographs of Mr. Monroe's residence, showing it's well maintained. The issues cited by the petitioner were minor and have been addressed. Third, we have Mr. Monroe's financial records, which show he's living well within his means. He's not, as alleged, financially irresponsible. And fourth, we have testimony from multiple witnesses who interact with Mr. Monroe regularly. All of them describe him as fully capable and independent. The judge looked at Melissa and Brandon. This doesn't paint the picture your petition suggests. Your Honor, he's clearly been preparing for this, their lawyer said. He knew we were going to file, so he made sure everything looked perfect. So your argument is that he's too competent? Dave said dryly. Our argument is that he's being stubborn and putting himself at risk. The judge sighed. Miss Hoffman, Mr. Hoffman, I understand you're concerned about your father, but concern doesn't equal grounds for guardianship. From what I'm seeing, Mr. Monroe is a capable adult who's making informed decisions about his own life. But, Your Honor, let me finish. I'm going to deny this petition. Mr. Monroe clearly has capacity. If circumstances change in the future, you're free to file again. But right now, there's no basis for removing his autonomy. Melissa burst into tears. Brandon's face went red. Their lawyer started to argue, but the judge cut him off. We're done here. Petition denied. Outside the courthouse, Melissa confronted me. Dad, how could you? We were trying to help. Were you? Or were you trying to sell my house? That's not fair, isn't it? Brandon requested a property report 6 months ago. You tried to get my hospital records without my permission. You inflated my expenses to make me look financially irresponsible. You're not trying to help me, Melissa. You're trying to help yourselves. That's not true, she said, but her voice was weak. I think it's time for you to leave. Dad, go. They left. I stood there in the parking lot, feeling hollow. I'd won. I got to keep my house, my independence, my life, but I'd lost my daughter. That night, sitting in Sarah's reading nook, I thought about what she would say. She'd always been the wise one, the one who could see through to the heart of things. I think she'd tell me that love and respect aren't the same thing, that Melissa loved me, in her way, but she didn't respect me. She saw an old man who needed to be managed, not a person capable of making his own choices. And maybe, in a twisted way, she thought she was helping. Maybe she'd convinced herself that selling my house and putting me in a facility was for my own good. People are excellent at justifying what benefits them. 2 months passed. Melissa didn't call. I didn't call her. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. Then, one evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Monroe? This is Detective Sarah Reeves with the Colorado Springs Police Department. I need to ask you some questions about Brandon Hoffman. My stomach dropped. What about him? We're investigating him for financial fraud. Multiple clients have filed complaints alleging he misappropriated funds. During our investigation, we found some concerning documents related to you. Do you have time to talk? I did. Detective Reeves came to my house the next day. She showed me what they'd found. forged documents with my signature, applications for home equity loans in my name, records of Brandon attempting to access my bank accounts. He was planning to steal from me, I said quietly. It looks that way. The guardianship petition was part of it. If he'd been appointed your guardian, he would have had legal access to all your assets. What happens now? We're building a case. It'll take time. But Mr. Monroe, you should know that your daughter Melissa is being investigated too. Some of these documents have her signature. It's possible she was involved, or it's possible he forged her signature. We're still figuring it out. After she left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time. 3 weeks later, Melissa showed up at my door. She looked terrible, thin, exhausted, older than her 42 years. "Dad," she said, "can I come in?" I let her in. She sat on the couch, the one Sarah had picked out at an estate sale and reupholstered, and started crying. I didn't know. "Dad, I swear I didn't know what Brandon was doing. The police think you might have been involved." "I wasn't. I signed some papers because he said they were for your estate planning, but I didn't read them carefully. I trusted him. He's my husband." "Was?" She looked up. "What? Was your husband? You left him, didn't you? How did you know?" "Because you're here, and because I know you, Melissa. You're not a thief. You're just someone who made very bad choices." She cried harder. "I'm so sorry. You were right about everything. About Brandon, about the house, about all of it. I convinced myself we were helping you, but really we were helping ourselves. And I didn't want to see it." "Why?" "Because we were broke, Dad. Brandon's business was failing. We were drowning in debt. And when I thought about your house, about all that money just sitting there while you lived alone, it seemed wasteful. It seemed like the solution to all our problems. So you decided to solve your problems by taking my home. I know how it sounds. And I can't ask you to forgive me, but I want you to know I'm cooperating with the police. I've given them everything, and I'm divorcing Brandon." "Good. I know I don't deserve it, but could we maybe talk? Sometimes I don't expect things to go back to normal. I miss my dad." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. I saw Sarah in her eyes, in the curve of her jaw. I saw the little girl who used to help me draft blueprints at the kitchen table, who'd been so proud to show her mom the drawings. "We can talk," I said finally. "But Melissa, we're starting from zero. You don't get to make decisions for me. You don't get to tell me what's best for me. If you want to be in my life, it's as my daughter, not as my caretaker. Understood?" "Understood." She left an hour later. We didn't hug, but it was something. Brandon was eventually convicted of fraud and sentenced to 4 years in prison. Melissa lost her job at the hospital, not officially because of the scandal, but we both knew that was why. She moved to a smaller town, started over, found work as a medical billing specialist. We talk now, once a month. Careful conversations, rebuilding slowly. I'm still in my house, Sarah's house, our house. I've started volunteering at the hospital again. I've taken on more consulting projects. Last month, I joined Tom and Patricia in Arizona for a week. They've got a spare room and standing invitation. Sometimes, late at night, I sit in the reading nook and think about what almost happened. How close I came to losing everything. How easily autonomy can be stripped away if you're not careful. But I also think about quiet strength. About how Sarah used to say that the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm when everyone expects you to panic. Let them make their noise. Let them make their plans. And then, quietly, prove them wrong. I didn't have to shout. I didn't have to fight. I just had to hold my ground and let the truth speak for itself. That's what I learned from all of this. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well, on your own terms, in the home you built with the person you loved. I'm 65 years old. I plan to live in this house for another 20 years. Maybe 30, if I'm lucky. And every morning, when the sun comes through those kitchen windows Sarah designed, I remember, this is mine. I earned it, I kept it, and no one, not even family, gets to take that away.